sponsored by Using the Power of Your Voice eGuide, your guide to launching your podcast in 30 days. Are you feeling a calling from God to start a podcast, but uncertain about where to begin or what you'll need? Creating a podcast can be fulfilling and an enjoyable experience. Whether you're interested in sharing your expertise on a specific subject, conducting engaging interviews, or educating and entertaining your listeners, podcasting can help establish strong connections and foster a sense of community. Using the Power of Your Voice is a guide to start your podcast in just 30 days and is perfect for anybody who is clear that God told them to start a podcast. Whether you're nervous about recording or unsure where to start, this guide will provide you with the valuable insights and actionable steps to help you record and launch in 30 days. In this guide, you'll learn to identify your why, find your topic, learn where to host your podcast, and what equipment you'll need to start. If you are ready to be obedient in your calling and start your own podcast in 30 days, this guide is a must have. Download your copy of Using the Power of Your Voice today by going to www.slingselfdoubt.com/podcast. I cannot wait for you to start using the power of your voice. And thank you for your support. Hey Slayers, welcome back to the Slaying Self-Doubt YouTube channel. Here is where we empower Black women to overcome their doubts, fears, and insecurities in order to walk into their God-given purpose. How do we do that, you ask? Well, we create safe and brave spaces just like this for Black women to show up authentically as themselves. So join me and sometimes some of my friends on our journey as we remind you that you are not alone. I am Coach Felicia, and together we will find our fears and slay them. Hey Slayers, welcome back to another episode of the Slaying Self-Doubt Podcast. I am here with Vecoya Banks from Love the Hair You Wear. Hey Vecoya, how are you?
Hey, I'm here. We was talking about it. It's been a Thursday, but
Listen, we are here, we are showing up, and we about to talk about one of the things. So for me, I have a love-hate relationship with my hair. I enjoy it, but I just don't have the patience for it. And so I've had every hairstyle you can think of. And then finally, when I turned 40, I was like, you know what? I'm done with having to make sure it is done and looks a certain type of way. I was like, just cut it off. So even when I get sometimes I'll grow it out, like I'm growing it out a little bit, but I'm just waiting. I'll be like, let me go ahead and set my appointment for the barber so I can go ahead and get this cut on off. But I usually start out telling people like how I found them. And so everything's through social media. And I saw, I think it was during the pandemic is when you were, because everybody's paying attention, right? And I saw it and I was like, oh, this is such a cool thing. Like I just saw the conversations that you were having about hair. And even at that time, like knowing and not, so it's weird, right? Like it was almost like, we know we have this hair, we know, but that like, getting the education about your hair and knowing what type of hair you have, what products are you supposed to be using, what hairstyles work on you and what don't work on you, like how you show up in the workplace, all these different things about it that is so, so us, right? Like nobody can do it like us. And so I just was like, this is such an amazing conversation. And, I stalked you for a little while. Then I was just like, you know what? I saw you at an event last year, and then I was like, "Hey, I'm going to be reaching out to you to let you know, I want to have you on the show." And you were like, "Okay, yeah, just let me know." So I was like, "Yay!" So, for those of you all who don't know Vecoya, I am going to let her introduce herself. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started?
Oh, okay. A little bit about me. So my name is Vecoya Banks. I reside in the DMV area.
Hey.
I'm here since 2010, but I'm from Greensboro, North Carolina. So definitely.
Oh, okay. That's
And
okay.
yeah. So what else about me? So I would say I like to call myself kind of like a connector of pieces.
Mm-hmm.
What I do. So even though I'm very enthusiastic about natural hair care, I am by no means a cosmetologist. So I just moved here and got really inspired by I would say, Black excellence.
Mm-hmm.
How there was so many different communities, I feel like, in supportive communities and bloggers that you can just places where you can go and just be inspired.
Yeah.
So I could say that's something different from being here that I feel like I wouldn't have necessarily had access to had I stayed in Greensboro.
Mm.
And not that, there's amazing things about Greensboro, but
Yeah, yeah.
I talk to my husband all the time because he's from here. So he's
Okay.
used to seeing all this like Black excellence and just Black people doing amazing things.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just not as prominent where I'm from.
Yeah. Now, really quickly, so I actually had a conversation with someone else who said the same thing. They were like from like San Diego or something. And they
Mhm.
were just like, and I was like, I've never heard it explained that way, but I born and raised here, born in DC, raised in Prince George's County, like you don't realize the benefit that we have to being around it, to the stores you go to, the churches, the malls, the wherever
It's
you were
cool.
around, the
Yeah.
schools. Like I was like, you know what, you're right. Like I went to school with people whose parents were judges and lawyers and doctors, and like it was normal. It didn't seem like weird, like, oh yeah, blah blah blah. And it was just kind of like it's not it doesn't seem outlandish to us because it is normal. And so when people say that, I'm like, you know what, I am proud to be a Prince
Yeah, one
Georgian.
of my really good girlfriends, she's from PG County too. And so we even had the conversation about Black teachers. Like I can count on my hand how many male Black teachers I had that, weren't PE teachers throughout
Yeah.
my whole, you know,
Yes.
uh K through 12. And not
Uh-huh.
there's nothing wrong with being a PE teacher.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just as far as seeing people that are like you. I think I had two Black male teachers. That one was my math teacher. Yeah, both of them were math teachers. Outside of that, no, I didn't have that.
Yeah, it really does make a difference.
It does. But
Being
then I
able.
ended up going to a HBCU. So
Oh,
then you see
well,
like
yeah.
all of these. I
Right.
went to A&T, so Aggie Pride.
Oh,
So
okay.
that was an amazing experience too. But Greensboro is definitely a college town.
Yeah.
And A&T was an amazing experience. But I mean, outside of that, that's not something that you see every.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right.
Yeah, so I feel like I moved here, got inspired by that. I've always I started my natural hair care journey in 2009, my last year at A&T. Before that, I was I've always had a pretty good experience with my hair. But around 2007, I crossed. I'm an AKA, so
Okay.
I crossed and I discovered the flat iron as well as relaxers too. So I was
Child.
doing both. And
Ooh.
I noticed in about a span of a year and a half, my hair went from my bra strap length to about like right around my chin.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, I didn't realize I was just using excessive heat, and that was one of the problems.
Yep.
But 2009, that was the YouTube era. Like everything is like on YouTube, and it was like super, I feel like authentic. So I was able to find a lot of women that were going the natural hair care route. And you got to keep in mind, I didn't even know that there was any other way to do your hair outside
Mm-hmm.
of relaxing it. Like I was like, that's what you do. So it was a brand new world. And when I started researching it, I just was under this impression that I would just be able to just, once I went fully natural, wash my hair and just hop out the shower and it was going to be just, you know,
Perfect.
and that was not the case at all. So did that
Yeah.
about 2009. Then I moved here in 2010. Like I said, got really inspired by the networking, the Black excellence in networking that you would be able to do here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a smaller city. My sister and I already had like kind of like a blog, like the lifestyle blog, where we talked about hair. So that was around 2012. And then so I've always been very inspired by natural hair care and just empowering women.
Yeah.
In 2015, I got the opportunity to be a part of a photo shoot. There was a guy, his name's Levan Anderson. He was doing like
Oh, I know
a
Levan.
yeah, Levan.
Yeah.
So he was doing like a photo shoot with 20 different women with natural hair in the
Mm-hmm.
DC area. He called it the Washington Naturals. It was an amazing experience. I got to meet a lot of different amazing women that like I'm still connected with today.
Yeah.
It was just
I
following them.
think I bought a shirt that said that because during that time
Oh,
I
yeah,
had,
you got a pick. Yeah.
yeah, uh-huh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it looks like the Washington Nationals. It looked the
Yeah.
same way, but I had locks at the time. So no, I know exactly. Yep, I actually remember that. I remember that campaign.
Yeah, it was
Mm-hmm.
dope. So he had 20 women. We met up for a photo shoot. And the picture did really well number wise. So it ended up going in essence.com. And the idea was, just having all these different women. Some of them were bloggers, influencers. I think at that time, I don't know if they had the term influencers, but they had huge audience.
Yeah.
You had some women that was like in PR, some women that work for the government. So it was a really dope experience. And so what I said to him when he started selling the shirts, we met up to get the shirts too. And I was like, yo, you should do an event off of this. And he was like, well, Vecoya, that's not really my thing, but if you want to do an event, I'll back you. So I was like, all right, cool. So that must have been like May, in the span of like 8 weeks. I didn't know a lot about events, but I did know that numbers were important. So I kind of drafted the different contacts that I did have in different areas that I collected throughout, or, got well acquaintance with throughout the years, told them, hey, like, Washington Naturals is doing something and these are the numbers, you should want to be a part of it. And I had to think about what I wanted to name it. And I was like, well, we're talking about hair. What can I do? And I was like, love the hair you wear. That sounds good. Like,
Yeah.
sounds great. So I looked it up. Nobody had that patent or trademark at the time. So it was Washington Naturals presents Love the Hair You Wear. And within 8 weeks, we were able to have, I think, 5 or 6 brands that were a part of, providing products. At that time, it was just samples, but products for the event. And we were able to get 150 women and men too, because there were some men too, came out to the event. It was I don't know if you remember Blind Wino.
Yep.
It was at Blind Wino, that art gallery that was like really cool. So I was just super impressed by, like, I was like, oh, I was able to do that. And some of the women that were in the photo shoot were like, the main guest speakers. And I was like, I really like this. This is really dope. And it felt really empowering. It was a little stressful to put together because it is stressful, but it was amazing and worth it, well worth it. To hear women saying that they were walking away feeling empowered, because that's part of the natural hair care journey that I want to talk about. That's the main point of Love the Hair You Wear. That natural hair is not easy. It's not easier by any means. And there's times that you just want to kind of quit and give up. And kind of having those conversations. And it's actually even deeper than hair. Like it goes, manifest to all different areas of our life, like spiritually, like physically, all those different things, and they matter, and we need to have the balance. So from there, 2015, that was a great kickoff. I wanted to continue in 2016. Levan is a traveling photographer, so he was like, that's not really my thing, but you should keep doing it. I was like, cool. So I dropped the Washington Naturals, kept doing Love the Hair You Wear. We've done it every year in DC, except for last year. So last year, what we ended up doing was transitioning to, which I love this pivot actually. I transitioned to actually hosting Love the Hair You Wear at my alma mater at A&T.
Nice.
So we had 250 students register, come out, and it was such a meaningful, impactful conversation. So we had the founders of Rucker Roots. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they is Ellen and Eon. I might not be pronouncing her name right, but they're still amazing and inspirational women. They just actually had a feature on Good Morning America. They're from South Carolina, right? Started these products out of their kitchen, and now they're in retail stores. Like, so they're talking to the students, and the students are super engaged with them. We had a company called Mayavana that actually analyzes your hair. So take your hair and they'll tell you what your hair type is, what things you need to work on, what products might work well with you. So now we're kind of transitioning into that field. We're going to have Love the Hair You Wear at A&T again this year in September. So I'm super about that. So it's just kind of transitioned.
Yeah, I love that. And so specifically because of the years that you're talking about, and I, being here, right? And as we've talked about, just like being as though that you're able to see Black women everywhere here, no matter where y'all turn. Okay, if you're in the DMV, we are everywhere, right? But that space was probably the space and when women were transitioning into natural hair, right? My transition happened in, I think, like 2000, something like that. I had like oh man, I can't even remember the name of the braids. What they called? They were called like kinky braids or something like that. No,
twist.
Yeah, kinky twist. Thank you. Okay, so I kept them in my head too long, and I was just like, you know what? I think dreads would look fine on me. Like, why not try it out, right? But when I say there were zero natural hair salons, and that was like 2000, between 2000 and 2002. In this area, people, like, I was going around and some people were like, I think I know. I remember finding somebody and was like, the lady was like, okay, so don't wash your hair for 6 months. And I was just like, now, wait a minute, And so then I'm like, I went all these different places to try to really find like somebody, and I ended up finding somebody randomly in the street was asking me like how long I had been locking my hair, and I want it was probably like a inch of hair that I had, and I was like, yeah, I've been locking for like almost 2 years, and they was like, your hair should be longer than that. So when I went to explain it, whoever it was, I can't even remember who it was, but they were like, you need to go to this salon, and it was Jahar's Hair in Silver Spring.
Okay.
And I went there, child, they did a detox, they did all this stuff. I was there for about 3 hours, right? And the lady, the owner came to me and she said, I don't know who started you, but whatever they told you in this last 2 years, it's not going to work. She was like, so I'm gonna get, you going to go across the street to this barbershop and they're going to cut your hair. I'm going to come back, I'm going to dye your hair, and then we're going to get you right. Like, we ain't going to leave you set up. So I went and did that. I was like, well, I had been bold before. So I was like, it's fine by me. And so she was like, if you want to start your lock journey, come back here. And so that's what I did. I waited until my hair grew out. I started with them. And everywhere that I lived in the area, I drove all the way to Silver Spring to get my hair done. I would not go anywhere else. Nobody else was allowed to touch my hair. Even when people were like, oh, this person is doing this shop and this person, I was just like, no, I'd already been down that road. We're not doing it. But I started watching people like, okay, so you're growing your relaxer out. Okay, so everybody was starting to make that transition. So that period of time, what you're talking about is also with like in your job atmosphere, right? When women were coming in, you had the bob, or you had your hair flat ironed or whatever. Once it transitioned into that natural hair thing, that's where it got a little like what's going on? What are you doing? You're doing something new? Your curl, all of those different things. But I love it when I see people like when I see us just like wearing our hair naturally and like embracing it just warms my heart altogether. And so I know you said that it was something that you were always passionate about, but during this journey and being able to like get other people to hop on, because there's still a lot of people that's like, child, no, I'm gonna get that head crack and that's just gonna be what it is, because I don't want to have to deal with the naturalness of it. I'm gonna continue to perm my hair. How has self-doubt showed up in your journey in having to like, because you're kind of at the forefront of it, of being like no, this is, I want to empower you to take this journey.
So how has self-doubt showed up?
Yeah.
I don't think that I'm not one of those people that's like what other people are doing. I'm not necessarily even trying to influence other people to, you know, go a different route, because if that's what works for you, then that's what works for you. So if relaxers is what works for you, then by all means continue to do that. This is more so about the conversations between the people that are like committed to the natural hair care journey. And like I said, to me, it's even deeper than hair. It's about mentally, like, we've added a mental health piece to it. So we talk about the importance of making sure that we're mentally, doing the things that put us in the best spaces. And that was added around 2020 when during the pandemic, because right, like that really came to the forefront. But if I say where self-doubt can creep in, it wouldn't necessarily be in like trying to bring other people into, or convert people, is what I kind of heard from that. My self-doubt kind of creeps in, and I don't know if it's self-doubt or just doubt. So when it comes to putting together this event, you have to reach out, and well, in my experience, I've had to reach out, and luckily I'm now at a space where I'm kind of building a team and it's being more of a team effort.
Yeah.
But it comes when it's time for me to uh pitch to different companies,
Mm-hmm.
get them to see the vision.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're not. And in the past, I've had some, opportunities to meet with some amazing brands that I was just so excited about, right? And then to hear a no might be really crushing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where doubt creeps.
Yeah.
There was a point last year where I kid you not, like I started meeting with the A&T folks in February. Praise God, we got a sponsor that ended up working, but they didn't really sign on truthfully until about August.
Oh wow.
And
And you said the event in September?
the event was in September.
Oh.
The way that I was going to move forward with it is, you know what, I'm gonna keep it real with you. All the way real transparency, because I feel like, so often it's just like, oh, this fairy tale about how
Yeah.
things happen. I was at a point last summer where I even said to my husband, I love the hair you wear, but if it does not sustain itself, like, it doesn't really make sense for me to continue to do it, not in this capacity of putting on an event, because my family is growing, my time is more limited. I have a full-time job, things of that nature. So if we don't get the sponsors that we need this year, um, this might be the last Love to Hear You Wear.
Yeah.
Um, and so that was the conversation that was had last year.
Yeah.
Started in February, had meetings with all different kind of companies, and you get hopeful, you get like, oh wow, like okay, like I met with this huge brand and
Yeah.
they actually heard what I had to say, and then you need a week or two
Mm-hmm.
to for them to conspire and figure out if they want to do it or not. And then it's like, hey, you know what? This doesn't really fit in with our vision this year.
Yeah.
So that was really crushing. I remember last June, I was definitely in tears after talking to
Mm.
certain people, like, oh gosh, like it's just not coming and I'm putting in the work. What's going wrong? But God, I feel like, is a sustainer, and He definitely,
Mm-hmm.
you pray about some stuff, He's going to let you know if you're on the right track. So that's
Yeah.
like, easily enough, in August, it worked out where we got the biggest sponsor that I've ever got throughout the past 8 years that I've been doing this, and
Mm.
fully paid for itself. The students didn't have to pay to come.
Mm.
So it was impactful in that way. And now I feel like we're pivoting into a lane where now we're going to be going to HBCUs, because I do want to expand that beyond just A&T, when it makes sense.
Yeah.
But I had to like pivot and be okay with that, and be okay with also letting go if it was time to let go. Right.
Yeah.
So
That's a big deal right there, because there's times where, especially when God gives you something and it's like, you gave this to me. You couldn't have given it to me to let it fall by the wayside, right? And you've been able
right.
to see the impact that it's making. And even if in the beginning, like now you believe, now like you got me
Now I
100%.
see.
And
I mean,
I
this year,
mean,
girl, like it's like we're getting meetings left and right, and people are interested, and it's like, okay, like this,
mm-hmm.
all right. But last year,
Yeah.
I was like, listen, we might not be doing this no more, and
But that's where trust comes in, right? That's where the trust comes in of knowing that, and then it exceeded your expectations, right? What
Mhm.
you want, what you and that's how God works sometimes, right? Like He'll
Right,
be like, just hold on. If you just continue, because had you been like, you know what, it's March and nobody has said anything, I can't do it, and just quit, you would have missed out on your blessing, versus just saying like, okay, we're just going to keep going to as far as we can go, right? And then
right,
and then we gonna see, like, because sometimes our time is God's time is not our time, and it's going to be based on our trust, our obedience, and what it is that we do, so that at the end of the day, He gonna get the glory, right? And so now, look, you can now say, and He wants to know that we trust Him to do whatever it is that He say He's going to do, even
right.
if it's at the even if it's at the final hour.
See, listen. So that was my thought. I was like, so we can still do this event. And should we not get the sponsors, we're just going to do what we can without the sponsors. And then I was just gonna
Yeah,
bow out.
we done.
But but it ended up working out, and now it feels like I'm in a space of I may have found my niche, and that's
Mm.
that. Because sometimes I do be getting people from because we've done the event here in DMV, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
doing the next one in DMV, and I'm like, but I'm not quite sure if it makes sense. That might not be the vision anymore. So this year I do want to do something in DC, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not going to look like
What
the
it's been looking like.
event.
Yeah, and ultimately, like you said, like the vision can change. Everybody starts out one way, right? And then, but if the at the end of the day, the base of it is still the same. The audience just may be different, right? And
Right.
who it is you are impacting, you still are getting something from whatever I'm giving you, even if the physical event is not here. Well, how about you come wherever we are and you show up there, and then we have more people there, and then, these young women are able to see that, hey, these professionals who are these doctors, lawyers, teachers, professors, all these things, they're showing up in these big spaces with their natural hair. Okay, they are out here saying, you know what, this is me. I'm bringing all of me to my place where you don't feel like, we've had conversations before. You got a code and body switch when you get into a certain space because you feel like you got to change who you are. And so being able, hey, y'all can come on down here. This is the college we're gonna be at this year. Okay, so
Right. Right. And I think also, because I have had some throughout the years, different people hit me up and like, can you go different spaces? Like, I had the opportunity in February for the first time, traveled somewhere, got paid to go out there. So I'm just like, look at God. But
look at
it was
God.
in St. Louis, Missouri, is a majority white college, but there was still a space,
Mm-hmm.
for to talk about natural hair care with the Black students that went there. And
Yeah.
ideally, the young lady that reached out to me wanted me to try to put on "I Love to Hear You Wear" there. But what we got to remember about this DMV area, and even North Carolina, because I'm from North Carolina, right? I know
Mm-hmm.
this space of "Love to Hear You Wear." Traditionally, what we do in the past, the programming has been, we have a panel conversation with people that are doing inspiring things. Then we
Mm-hmm.
also use like a hair care brand, let's say Palmer's, because Palmer's has sponsored us so much in the past and been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe they have a hair care brand line, maybe their cocoa butter line. We will use their cocoa butter line on my hair and then your hair. And we have two different hair types, right?
I see what
And
you're
the
saying.
idea
Yeah.
is we're trying to achieve the same look. And so then we open up that conversation to the crowd because it's always going to be different. And you might like it and I might hate it. And so we talk
Yes.
about that in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's part of the Love to Hear You Wear conversations. And then it always escalates to other things that just happen in life. Like, hey,
Yeah.
I just decided to cut my hair and my boyfriend is not feeling it. And then, the crowd just chimes in, well,
Child.
that might not be the person for you, or, that type of thing. So
Yeah.
that has traditionally been the space of what we've talked about in Love to Hear You Wear. And I say all that to say, as we expand to different places like St. Louis, what I told her is I don't have connections with hairstylists there
Mm.
able to actually provide that part. So what we did when
Yeah.
Louis was just literally just talked about the entrepreneurship journey. And also shout out to Eden Body Works. They gave us full-size products for the students. So they were able to try
Nice.
those products. But being here in DC and even like your North Carolinas, we have those, like you were talking
Connections.
about
Yeah.
natural hair care stylists.
Yep.
Now more of those are popping up, but you got to remember that's not everywhere. So there's still
No, it's not.
work to be done and still spaces to, create those opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. My parents moved to Florida about 5 years ago, and my mom has yet to find somebody. So she's been doing her own hair. She just been, if she figured out YouTube University, taught herself how to put braids in her hair. She be all the time like she be like, yeah, I'm gonna do my hair. I'm like, girl, you done got good. Cause let me tell you something, I would have found a barber quick.
Well, that's where wigs come into play, or
Listen, but I think also just knowing, what works for you, what you like. I've just like I've had it all, and I just this right here, as I go into my mature years, I don't have the patience for it, and I'm okay with that. I am absolutely okay with that. So, what have you learned about yourself during this journey that you didn't know before?
Mm, you mean just in creating Love the Hair You Wear?
Yeah, just in your so in this journey from start to where you are now, what do you think you've learned about yourself, about the business, like just in or how have you what you learned about yourself? Yep. Mm-hmm.
What I've learned about myself, I learned that, okay, so I can think of something. My skill sets are definitely in planning and organizing and following up. Everyone says that with my contacts that I do have with these different hair care brands, or, different brands in general that we might have the opportunity to work with. Follow up is super important.
Yeah.
So those are some of my strengths. But also with the things that I'm not so good at, like figuring out who is and trying to build a team for
Mm-hmm.
that. That's really important because at the end of the day, I'm one person, and as my life gets busier, I don't want the message or the vision to end with me,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so the team is really important, which, I see some other, people doing that naturally and just doing amazing things, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the Mom Prince is doing like amazing things, right?
Child.
And their
Yes.
team is just everything, right? Like it just is. So one thing I saw from kind of looking at that and models like that is how you have to have a team. So this year,
Yeah.
like even with the college going to A&T, we literally have about a team of 5 or 6 people that we meet every 2 weeks, and we just kind of check in, and this is
Mm-hmm.
what we're doing, and this is where we're going next. And that's really important because um I definitely have some really great friends that really support my support Love the Hair You Wear.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's really go time, especially around when the event happens, they are just all in. Outside of that, though, sending out the pictures, doing all those things, that's just me. So,
Yeah.
um, and my husband also, he has 2 businesses. He has Competitive by Nature, which is like a fitness boot camp type feel. So if you in DC, definitely check them out. They do workouts. I think right now their workouts are on Mondays and Wednesdays, but as the summer comes, that might switch up a little bit. The
Oh,
Competitive by
cool.
Nature, yeah, really, really dope. They're doing great things. And then he also wrote 2 children's books, Young Black Boy, Young
Let's
Black Girl.
go.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, y'all already know we're gonna make sure all of that's in the show notes, okay? Because all right, listen.
I was gonna say, but one thing that he inspires me to do is definitely that whole teamwork and just how he's able to he executes things, but he has a vision for things.
Yeah.
So that is important. And it might not go exactly as planned to your vision, but to even have that like capacity to say, all right, this is what we're doing now, but in 5 years, this is what I want to be doing. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, like kind of being around people that are inspirational and that kind of thing, definitely
Yeah.
uh definitely helps me change my mindset. That's why I'm even putting out there in fruition. You know what? Love to hear you. Where I would love for us to do an HBCU tour. I think that would be amazing. And
That would be
I'm
dope.
hoping in 5 years that, or I'm not even hoping. I'm going to claim that in 5 years
Yes,
we're
ma'am.
doing that, and it will be lucrative and it will make sense. And we're actually pouring into the students. So.
Yeah, I could totally see that, right? Because one, it is something that would be helpful, especially being on campus, right? Like I think, oh, child, I think I went to Hampton, so I think about the number of hairstyles I had been to, just trying to figure it out. I went from bald to hair to wigs to weaves to
Right.
braids to you just going through it because you're at that even at that age, you're still trying to figure out who you are and what you're comfortable with, right? And even know, and I think the other part is that y'all, so in this, I don't know what people had other places, but when I tell you I was a kid, if you didn't use Just For Me products, Palmer's products, or Motions, okay, I promise you Motions was like
it.
the black hair care. That was it. That was like all we had. You either use that or the hairstylist I used to go. This is my mom's hairstylist. She used Redken. I think Redken. I don't even know if they
Yeah.
still in.
Mhm.
But it was like those were the only things that we could use. Like everything else just made. I remember making my head feel some type of way, but Motions was it. Okay, and every time they added a product, we used to just say Motions underneath the sink.
And now you got a plethora of products to choose from. And I feel like Black owned products like Myola
Listen.
Organics,
Mm-hmm.
and just seeing some of these women's stories, like the founder, how she started and how it's like amazing right now, right? And then all these different not only stores, but I feel like they're doing things, making major waves on social media too.
Yes, yes.
You got Allocate Naturals is another one. First of all, I love Allocate Naturals. Like their product, do it.
Yeah.
But Rochelle Graham, how she started out at like literally her kitchen
Mm-hmm.
doing like, you know, in major retail stores and Rucker Roots, another one, right? It's
Yeah.
just like so many curls. It's just so many different like products that we
It
can
is. It's amazing to go from this one little section like this to be able to say,
right.
here's a whole aisle of stuff, right? And when I
Yes,
listen, when I cut my hair, I was like, okay, now I got to figure it out because when I had locks, I didn't. It was so long. I didn't wash my own hair. I went to the salon, so I was just like, I don't even have no shampoo in my house. Like, let me fit. And I went one by one, and I was like, at one point in time, my husband was like, you buy another shampoo and conditioner. I say, but I have to figure it out. I was like, because I could tell my hair didn't feel. I had to relearn. Like now I'm older, right? And so even as you were talking about how your is more than just your hair. Like, what are you putting in your body? How are you? You know, how are you taking care of yourself? That it's still coming out your pores. So I needed to know, like, what do I need? And then in this age, like I bleach my hair, and I remember seeing something, and somebody was like, if you over the age of 40, you need to be using 30 or 40 volume. And I said, like, but they said your hair will fall out. And I was just like, you know what? Let me use 40, I mean 30. So I use 30 volume to bleach it. But I'm like, you can't do what you used to do in your 20s and your teens. And it changes for me. So knowing that and being educated, which is why this is important, because what you do is you educate us as well, right? It's not just like, oh, we're just saying, you know, wear a new hairstyle. It really is bigger than that. Like it's your whole self, right? And so that makes it empowering as well because you walk away with the knowledge of being like, I like her hairstyle, but that's not going to work for me. I don't have that type of hair. It's not, you can buy a wig that look like that, but your hair is not going to do that, right? And you have to know that. And so I appreciate the fact that that is what, you know, you are doing and what you're letting people to be able to see and, you know, get the information from.
And I think also just letting it be known it's not easy. Like
Mm,
it's not like we
no.
have this, I had a perception that it was going to be easier, but it's by no means easier. It's definitely difficult, especially if you add in working out into that too. Then it's like it's definitely like, what am I about to do with my hair? And there
Listen.
are times that I want to cut it all off. And these are all conversations that we have at
Yeah.
this. So
Oh yeah, there was plenty of times. I still have my locks in a box in my room. And there were times where I like grew my hair because I wanted that, you know, like the shave sides and like the big mohawk thingy with the twist out and all that stuff. And I got it to like, I don't know, probably like 3 inches. And I was like, so wait a minute, you mean to tell me that in order to get this hairstyle, I'd have to twist out my, like I have to do my own hair and twist it out and do the, and I was just like, yeah, no, I don't. I was like, maybe should I just go back and put the locks back in my head? Like, what do like? It really was I had to think about what it is I wanted to do, and whatever decision I made, I was like, you got to be comfortable with it. You know, already cut your hair, child. So what you
right.
gonna do? And I was just like, I'm gonna just keep the party going, but you know, just in case, I might reattach them locks.
I totally get it. I totally get it.
So before we go, I want you to tell the people what can they get by connecting with you. I know that you do the conference, but outside of the conference, what is it that Love the Hair You Wear offers to people who are interested in your organization?
So, I mean, love to hear you where I won't even lie to you. I could definitely, you know, do better with the social media aspect because it kind of revs up around when the event is happening.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But we do have some exciting things planned for the DMV area in the
Yeah.
fall. So definitely follow us at LTHYWDC. We send out a monthly newsletter where we're talking about maybe our product faves, what is Love the Hair You Wear doing? Like, you know, I told you we just went to Maryville University. We also went to, is it Cardozo or Cardoza High School?
Oh,
It's
Cardoza.
Cardoza. So we
Uh-huh.
went to Northwest and, you know, spoke to some young ladies there. So you can keep up to what we're actually doing.
Yes.
And even though sometimes that's like a smaller, that might have been like 15 high school students, but it was such an interactive conversation with them. Like
Mm-hmm.
they were really interested and engaged in how not only can they empower themselves, but just the thought of, it was two young ladies in particular that really were good at their hair care game. So I'm talking to them like, hey, y'all need to make sure y'all get your LLC, like little stuff like that. So that is something that we continue to do. And I would say for the fall, if you're interested in being around, I would say Black women that are doing their thing and doing amazing things, then you definitely want to lock into keep up with what we're doing so that you have access to that. So that is what I'm saying. Like, we're not doing a full on event this year here in DC, but we are going to make sure that the DC still feels loved.
You can't leave us out. Can't leave us out.
I'm trying to, but again, like we were talking about pivoting, like
Yeah.
it does not event spaces, girl, like all of that stuff. It takes a lot to put on an event. You got to think about venues. You got to think about paying the vendors that come. So
Child.
I think another thing that I've learned throughout this journey is that even when creating like the ticket prices for something, you don't just necessarily want to have the ticket price just to cover the venue, but the full aspect of it, which might be, if you got a bartender, a DJ, all these different things, all those things matter.
Yes.
So being transparent with you. Last year was probably the first year that we actually made a profit off of something, because every other thing, we've been doing pretty good.
Yeah.
We've been doing all of that, but I'm getting more so into a business mindset too, because it's not a hobby. This is my business. This is something that I put my time and my effort and my energy into. So it needs to make sense for the return on the investment.
Yeah.
Yeah, follow us, and prayerfully, this time next year we'll have somebody that just runs the whole social media thing.
Hey, listen, you
I
put
love
it into
social
that.
media.
Listen, you putting it in the edge. Just go ahead and basically what she's saying, y'all, is she needs a social media manager. Okay, so I'm gonna just
I
go
mean,
ahead and
I
put.
love social media, but and that's also utilizing your resource too. Utilizing your resources too. I have a friend that is, she does social media strategies for for a business, a company that she works for. So I thought about it and I was like, I probably need to meet with her about a strategy and not just posting things that quote unquote feel good to me.
Child, and you go into these colleges and you go into these high schools, you better use some of them children that are good at this is what they are embedded in, right? And so
I would say that. I mean, I'm probably prolonging this. I've had 2 interns now. The past one, she was amazing. But that's another thing too. I feel like that is almost like dating. Or like, how they say like a therapist, like, some people, they get turned off from therapy because they'll meet one therapist and they'll be like, oh, they didn't do it for me. But it's like, no, it's like a shoe. Like you gotta just keep
you gotta keep going till you find the right fit.
Right. So we have explored the intern route. Our last intern, her name is Sakana. She's amazing. She went to A&T, graduated, and she's definitely still trying to be involved in like what we're doing.
Yay, that's awesome.
That's great. But like, yeah, I guess one thing that I've learned is delegation. I got to get better at it.
You better eliminate and delegate, okay? Because life. And let me just tell you, y'all. She didn't mention it, you guys, but we know if you once you start following her, you know that she's pregnant, and so she's about to add to her family.
Oh yeah.
Okay, it changes. Yes, it's about to happen. So when you go from 1 to 2, it make a it's a big difference. It is a big difference.
Everyone tells me, I'm so like, oh my gosh. But that's why I'm really glad that we're getting all our ducks in a row for the fall event, because it's like, yeah, like before baby girl gets here, and this is gonna be a baby girl. So me and my husband were talking about, that means we gotta delegate time for her hair, which we didn't.
How about that? How about that?
I have a standing appointment with somebody.
Listen, which is the reason why I told the Lord, I told you in the beginning, me and head just it don't work. And I was like, Lord, please give me boys. Okay. Because and I was like, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So Vecoya, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing your journey. I hope that, you just continue to do what it is that you love. I hope that you continue to share love the hair you wear, and the people that will be impacted by it will continue to just spread it. And I do see a HBCU tour in your near future. Okay, in your near
Hey, we're
future.
gonna claim it. We're gonna claim it. It's gonna be fully funded too, all
Eh,
right?
fully funded, y'all, and you're going to get a return on your investment. Okay, like
All right.
let us go. So
I
thank
will
you so.
say for the one at A&T though, we're actually giving out scholarships to some of those students this year. So that's exciting too. So it's
Hey
like
y'all.
giving
Hey,
back to my alma mater and these students are getting scholarships. So,
listen,
so
see, this the reason. See, then that's just even more reason why your pivot made so much sense, right? Like because what you're able to do, the Lord be knowing. He be knowing exactly where he need to place you. So thank you so much, Vecoya. I appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. As always, y'all, thank you for rocking with me. Again, if you enjoyed this podcast and you find it valuable, you enjoy this channel and you find it valuable, please consider donating by buying me a coffee. Your support will help me to create new content, get an official podcast studio, and ultimately reach more people. That's what we need. We need more people on this movement. Okay. If you're not already signed up to the newsletter, go to my website, www.slayingselfdoubt.com, and sign up for the Slayer Nation newsletter. That's where you'll get updates, where you'll get what's going on. You'll get the news first. You don't have to wait until I announce it or hear. Okay. And lastly, well, second to last, please make sure that you share this with at least 10 people. We are trying to reach 100,000 downloads this year, and every subscription, every share counts. So we need it. We need you to send it out to your peoples so they can help us hit our goal this year. Lastly, if you are not already following me on Instagram, you need to go on over there and follow me at Slaying Self Doubt. Until the next episode, see ya.